So when you're asking what was it like to be like that in the 50s, idealism. You know, that you had a country which was full of the poor, a country where Gandhi had made an attempt to give a income to everybody by giving them charka and saying everyone will get 2 rupees if they weave. It was such a brilliant move to remove people from economic dependence. Even the poor need not be economically dependent. Like now you have Narega, then it was what was called the Khadi program. You can imagine what it's like for a young person to feel that there is some idealism in the air. Idealism was literally bursting in the air. I was also attracted by the sense of austerity, you're right. That in the midst of plenty, you feel you must make a gesture towards the fact that you are identifying yourself with those who do not have plenty. I think that is a marvelous romance for a young person, because even today when you see some of the young activists, they want to identify themselves with the downtrodden, with the poor. But Gandhi gave you a way of doing it, and that is by buying their things. You know, that is, he linked the economic way you can enable a poor person by saying buy what they produce. So buy khadi, buy handmade goods. By that you are putting cash into their hands. There was a magazine or journal in those days called Seminar, done by the Thapars, Ramesh and Raj Thapar. Because we were coming into 75, they wanted an issue which was talking about status of women. And I had never written or done anything about women, but apparently I went to Ramila, who was my best friend. We were both teaching at the same university, 62, or earlier. We started in 62. So Ramila came and said, look, my brother is doing this thing. I'm writing something. You also write something. I said, I have no clue. So she said, think about something. So I thought about it, and she helped me to go to the museum. You know, she really guided me on where to find something. So I told her that one of the things I've been always thinking about is how the blessing that was given to girls was Ahalya, Sita, Draupadi, Tara, Mandodari, all women who were like servile to their men. So she said, write that and write what you feel now. So that's how that book, that article came out in the first issue of Indian Women that Seminar brought out. That led to Sheila Dhar saying, hey, you've written that piece, you come and do the book for us. Mine I put together by asking friends. When I was asked to do the book, I was lost. So I asked all my friends in the academic to write chapters, and they did. And in a way, it's an interesting profile book. You see the statistics that is coming out, it shows that women are really in the labor force in a much lower percentage than men. Then you have a visual of women doing work as you drive through India, carrying bricks, digging earth. So I can't explain what happened to me. I just felt I must explore this. You cannot say it was because of somebody's writing or somebody's speech. It is one of those things, you know, that just hits you that I'll correct the data. So I call it counting correctly, and just to make you laugh, as I finished that study and it got quite a big bang, and every economist who's worth his name in India, K.N. Raj, Chukumar Chakravarti, you name them, they all came to a seminar in which I presented the paper showing the way the NSSO was collecting data about women was wrong and all that. So it was one of those, what shall I say, patakas. And I used to say to my colleagues, listen, when I die and you put me into a grave, make my hand shout, count correctly. I was so fascinated and so gripped by the fact that the labor of women was not being given its recognition. First, her work in contribution to GDP must be counted. A wage must be given. It should come under labor laws. And I can give you so many examples, even today, of women's economic contribution. Let me give you an example. Would you be interested? I've studied these, that's what I'm telling you. You go to Orissa and you see what is called the silverware from Orissa. You go to a household, the man is creating beautiful goods. The woman is sitting there bashing the silver to make it malleable. Is she given an occupation? No. You go to Kashmir to carpet weaving. The woman is there getting the wool, even making sometimes even putting the threads on the frame. It's not considered an occupation. There is no wage for it. That's where I think we have to do counting correctly and making the contribution to the GDP as a way of saying that she is a worker. The women's movement and the young women's movement as it is today is probably the only place I see where you could have a revolution. Even if they are not Marxists, even if they are not Gandhians, there is so much idealism in them. There is so much passion for justice. If you see the way they supported Shaheen Bagh, such a wide assortment of young girls and women, it was so inspiring. How to capture that, how to bring that into flow as we did earlier, that troubles me.